friends, good to be back with you. So I wanted to spend some time today talking about the opposition between the Moon and Neptune in the birth chart and what this leads to when we see it. So this is a potentially very highly creative aspect to have. It bestows vision, artistic talent, compassion, and an eye for art and beauty. And this is due to the urge to merge with the cosmos. There's a fusing of emotion and idealism that can bring them closer to God and to beauty and to perfection and to others. They can find emotional expression through art or compassionate service, sometimes even spirituality. People with this opposition are very impressionable, however. They are very moved by external forces and energies. This opposition creates a belief that one is affected by everything, that we are determined by others and by the conditions that surround us. So with this particular aspect, we don't see ourselves as separate from the environment. So we don't believe ourselves to be self-determining. It's very easy to take advantage of someone who has this opposition, and this is due to the lack of self-awareness and therefore personal boundaries and awareness of others that people with this aspect struggle with. There is a deep need for reassurance from others and from the environment, and this puts them in a very, very vulnerable place. They're looking for an outside source to guide them, a Neptunian dream to disintegrate into, but it is integration that will bring safety. It is integration that will bring stability and security. The escape tactic brings more and more fear of the unknown, and that's what they're trying to avoid in themselves. But because it is an internal problem, it will continue to show up as an external event, lack of connection with the ideal. The ideal is the self. The ideal is home. One must find solace in the higher self, what it is to rest at home. The moon represents home, and that is what we're looking for, the ideal home, the ideal place of peace. And we have to be willing to do our own housework instead of looking for something to distract us from it. And that's really the cure for this aspect, to stay home internally, to tend to our own requirements. We abandon ourselves for something better with the moon opposing Neptune. And this is a part of what is creating that underlying insecurity. We know, excuse me, we know we can't trust ourselves to defend ourselves. We know that we will allow others to take advantage of us. We know we won't say no. We know we are a slave to our environment. We live in fear because we don't know what we might do next that could put ourselves at risk. This is what we think we know about ourselves. It's a mix of the dependence of the moon and the avoidance of Neptune. Excessive emotionality is the outcome. Excessive sensitivity. And this is all coming from a belief about being captive to the environment and conditions. With the moon opposing Neptune, we are learning not to idealize everything we see. We are by nature a pantheist. We see God in everything with this opposition. At first, the God we see is an illusion, but we can make it real. We can see ourselves in everything in a clear, undiluted, and undiluted way. And that's the real trick of Neptune. He starts us out with an illusion, and we think it's real. But if we step through that illusion, we can transcend it and then emerge into clarity. Neptune always makes us believe we have either already arrived or will never arrive. Depends on how he's aspected. With the opposition of the moon and Neptune, our attention goes to what is most ideal, what is the preferred state of being. Denial of what is in favor of what could be is often a very pervasive problem, and it can lead to living a life of estrangement, loneliness, isolation. We're looking to escape into something beautiful, to leave what is here in favor of what might be better. And that search for that heightened state of being, that's very common to deal with in a lot of situations with this aspect. The underlying reason for the search and the illusion of the ideal is to avoid the insecurity that exists in the present state and time. And that insecurity is coming from that lack of emotional boundary. The tendency to abandon what is for what might be better is a barrier to one's growth with this opposition. Growth depends on the ability to knuckle down and push through the insecurity that keeps us from taking part in the present moment and in the real state of things. There's an avoidance of the ordinary in favor of the extraordinary. And this avoidance will keep you coming up against a wall when it comes to real emotional human connection, feeling like we really belong, getting the needs of the moon met. Intimacy can't develop with the environment or with other people if you can't develop trust or intimacy in yourself. Trust has to begin with deciding what emotional stimuli you are going to respond to. There's a willful ignorance of truth that can be the worst symptom of this particular opposition. We have to be willing to know and to accept the truth about people, the people around us, our conditions, our environment, ourselves. This opposition causes one to see most all forms and people as they would prefer to see them. We are extremely impressionable with this opposition, and we are looking to believe, we are looking to be led. And this again is coming from that need to escape from the present flawed state But this tendency towards escaping creates insecurity because we have to respond to everything outside of ourselves except our own personal instincts. We're completely disconnected from our personal instincts when we have this opposition. We're disconnected to that conduit to higher self. The moon represents our instincts and our intuition. The gut is the second brain. When we are cut off from our instincts, that is a seriously scary place to be. We are dependent now on outside stimulus to inform us of what our own seasoned DNA already knows. So we're trying to avoid both our higher self and our lower animal self with this opposition in favor of something easy, a belief in something or someone that will absolve us of needing to connect with what's real. And we must discover the nature of our own feelings. And we do that through connecting to them. And this necessitates a boundary being formed. Now, we form that boundary so we can then transcend it. See, we don't understand that when we're first starting out. Before we've solved this opposition, we're just boundaryless. But we have to have solidity in order to then transcend. That's how it works with this particular conversation between the moon and Neptune. We're going to have to give up our selfless internal image to see a different event, a different outcome in the outside world. The addiction to something better or more perfect has to end, or we're never going to be able to participate in the real world. We have to devote ourselves to ourself when we have this opposition, not to the search for a savior outside of ourselves, not to a search for a perfect other. The need to retreat must turn into the willingness to participate if we're going to get beyond the growth glass ceiling that this aspect will present to us. A beautiful home, a peaceful home can be had, but it will only be real if you want to be there. You must want to sit with yourself. Walk in nature. Spend time with your higher self. Learn to find comfort in turning to your instincts for guidance. Listen to your body. You are not the constant assault of feelings that you deal with. That is a result of being raised in an environment where the mother or mother figure, sometimes the father figure, depends on who did the nurturing or who was around. They were not completely present. And that could have been emotionally or physically. There was either some abandonment, addiction, sometimes mental illness, something Neptunian that prevented the solid formation of an assuring relationship with the parent. So now as an adult, we're on the search for something to fill that childhood gap, that something to solve or to heal that childhood wound. And the perfect relationship, the perfect religion, the perfect condition, it seems like if we could just find that thing that we are missing, that connection to perfection, then we would finally get to rest. And you are chasing a love relationship with an emotionally abandoning parent. Let that go. The search is not fixing the problem. The search is creating the conditions for more isolation. You must be ready to confront why it is you want to escape. This confrontation can dispel the illusions that you are operating under. These illusions can be pervasive. They can affect almost every area of your life with this opposition. You may think also that you know what other people are about or mean or want, but you are likely to be way off. This is due to the habit of avoiding admitting to yourself what is unpleasant, what is the totality or the reality of yourself, avoiding the nitty-gritty of life. You're not trusting your own instincts about yourself, and so that's going to translate to not trusting your own instincts about people. So you're pushing those instincts down or denying those or explaining them away because they get in the way of your agenda. So you're actually micro-controlling how you view everything and everyone, but telling yourself you're determined by and controlled by all that is happening to you, and that all people need and what they are about, that you know what that is, and you are lying to yourself. You are saying, this is my agenda, this is what I want to see, and what I'm expecting from you, and I need you to fulfill all of my expectations. This is the direct opposite of what it is to really surrender. You're telling yourself you're in this perpetual state of surrender, but it's a lie. It's a perpetual state of illusion about the fact that you twist everything and everyone to fit your view of them. And you can't stand for them to be themselves, but feel you're the one who does not get to be yourself because you have to be everything for everyone. It starts with your own penchant for remaking everything and everyone as you would like them to be. The etheric web that surrounds the body is often riddled with holes when we have this particular aspect, and it allows all kinds of outside energy to permeate. And this can be healed when the psychic boundaries begin to gel. It begins with defining one's own feelings. Often we don't know what our feelings are with this opposition. We know what everybody else's feelings are. We know what everybody else wants and needs, but we may have never identified what our own needs or feelings are. And this needs to occur. This identification needs to occur. You need to know what your feelings and needs and instincts are. And this comes from admitting first that you have personal feelings and needs and instincts, and go the next step then and allow them to exist. We must allow all states of being to be with this opposition. We must let go of the need to see only beauty in others as an avoidance of seeing anything ugly in ourselves. We must allow the ugly to exist. It's fuel. We must understand that we must see on the outside what is truly us by allowing on the inside what is truly us to exist. You see God in everything because that is you. You must be willing to see the entirety of yourself. That's the secret to Neptune. to pull back the curtain and reveal the man behind it. The man who was doing all the operating, all the talking, all the acting, all the everything. It was you the whole time. You have the chance to really reach the most fantastical state of being. And this is totally anticlimactic. You are wearing the ruby slippers the whole time. All you have to do is close your eyes, turn your attention to your instincts, and remember, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place